Nomad Capitalist is right about Asia. I wanted to share with you a shocking article that may change your opinion about Nomad Capitalist forever. You heard me right. It may change your opinion about Nomad Capitalist forever. And I agree with Nomad Capitalist on the thoughts that he shared inside this article. This is an article that was written by Nomad Capitalist. There's no date on it. I have no idea when this article was written. He's talking about how his priorities changed. He's finding new opportunities in Europe and he wants to leave Asia behind him. Anyway, it's nomadcapitalist.com/expat/reasons leaving Southeast Asia. And I want to highlight a couple things here and respond to them accordingly. Nomad Capitalist says, quote, here's the deal. I'm done with living in Southeast Asia. This is a pretty bold statement. I'm done with living in Southeast Asia usually means I'm done with living in Southeast Asia for good, meaning I'm not going back there. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. If you have watched some of my videos, you also know that I made similar statements over the past couple of years, and I stuck to my statements. I didn't go back since 2019. And I want to now to point out some of the things that he said bothered him, where he was like, okay, this is too much. I cannot change the environment I am in and it's probably best for me to move on where I can find the lifestyle and the opportunities that I need at this moment in my life. First reason he says, limits to social assimilation. Isn't that true? It's very difficult to integrate into the culture in Asia. The mentality is different. Everything is different. And you as a foreigner, you have a really hard time integrating with the locals. They just have a different sense of humor. They have a different sense of understanding, a different sense of everything. And so he points that out. He says, quote, there are thousands of digital nomads throughout Southeast Asia, but rarely do they integrate into society. That is so true. So many people are like, hey, I'm living in Ho Chi Minh City, I'm living in Kuala Lumpur, but they aren't really living in Kuala Lumpur. They're living in a westernized version of Kuala Lumpur. They're not living in the real Malaysia. If you're living in Bukit Bintang, I lived in Petaling Jaya. I mean, it's a very modernized version of Malaysia. The real Malaysia is probably on the island of Borneo. That's where the real Malaysia is, and actually was there for quite some time. Basically, he's trying to say here that he couldn't assimilate with the culture in Asia, and here particularly Malaysia. I agree with that. Point two, he says business barriers to entry. That is all very true. If you take a look at the people who settled down in Southeast Asia, we're looking at people that are trying to make their first maybe $100,000, their first $200,000. Of course, they don't take home all of that. Maybe they take home 50%, 70%. Why? They have living costs, they have employee costs, maybe they got some corporate or local taxes to pay. Based on what he says here, just because Asia is good for startup entrepreneurs doesn't mean that I should remain there for the long term. I just cannot visualize my long-term business goals. And I agree with that too. Point three, he says the foreigner disadvantage. How true that is. I agree with you, Andrew. I agree with you 100%. You're so right about that. I'm quoting him again here. Quote, for instance, try getting a taxi in Asia when you look like me without getting ripped off. It's so true. Based on your skin color, based on your nationality, they know they can charge you more. That's just how it works. He also says he's looking to move to a place where he has no problem integrating. Next point is the food lifestyle. It's true that living in Southeast Asia makes you a little bit lazy. The moment you exit your apartment, house, wherever you live, you have so many food options there. You got food courts. You have really delicious foods to consume in Southeast Asia. However, something that must be added is that the food is very high in sodium. It is often very spicy. And we all know that that's not good for your kidneys, it's not good for your organs. Cooking healthy meals in a place like Malaysia can be a lot more expensive than preparing them in a Western country. It's just so much more work, and if you want to consume Western food in Malaysia, it can be very expensive. Things have to come a long way. They're imported, they're import taxes, and it just increases how much you pay for these goods and services. Point five, he mentions poor customer service. Also very true. Here he says that, quote, but try asking them if you can take some of their tea sandwiches home with you and they will have no idea what you're talking about. I had to ask them 6 times. That's very true. It's so difficult to communicate in English. Just getting the most basic stuff done can take a long time. You gotta rephrase your question. You got to repeat yourself so many times, and that doesn't just hold true when you're inside a hotel trying to order tea or sandwich, it's really like that everywhere. Of course, there are people that will understand you easier than others, but I've also found this to be a problem in many cases there. 6, lackluster banking institutions. Here, I kind of agree, kind of not. It really depends. I had really good experiences banking in Singapore, very efficient, very professional. So I don't really have any complaints banking in Singapore. He's complaining about HSBC in Hong Kong. Totally agree with that. I had an account with them, which I had to shut down after, China took over parts of the system there and they moved the accounting department to a different place, which happened to be in mainland China. So I had to do that. I can't agree with that. Banking in places like Cambodia, Thailand, Philippines, not that great, not recommendable. 7, very interesting point. He mentions Europe is exploding with opportunity. If we take a look at the whole globe now and we want to hire people, he's in a business where he needs to hire people that are fluent in English, that are proficient, that are good at solving problems. He needs people that work in customer support. And he just mentions that places like the Philippines, they're not suitable for that. You may find Filipinos that have really good English skills, high level of English proficiency. However, hiring them for very complex tasks that require a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge may not work out for you, and you have to look elsewhere. Of course, there are more options. There's Latin America. The best place to hire people happens to be in Eastern Europe. High English proficiency, competent, very affordable labor, great value for your money. It's just a really good place to hire people, and I would say most of Eastern Europe is really good for that. Point 9, changing priorities, and I'm going to quote him again. I'm proud to have called Malaysia my home base, but I am moving on and growing up. Whatever that means, let your imaginations go wild. All we know now is that at this point, he has been back to Malaysia. And the question is, what's going on with this article? Is this article still current? What's going on with this article? The question is, why would you keep listening to somebody who keeps changing his mind over and over and over and over and over again? He keeps changing his mind all the time for all the different reasons. As soon as there's a crisis or as soon as he's unhappy with certain things about a place, he just leaves the place, he moves to a new place and starts recommending that. As soon as he gets bored in that other place, he keeps changing, right? He keeps rotating back and forth between places. Is that really a person you can trust? Can you trust the opinion of a person like that? That's the question you have to answer for yourself. By the way, this article is just an example out of many videos that he shot over the past, complaining about places, why he's getting tired of places, why he's moving on to different regions. Why is he doing that? It is my personal opinion that he is trying to create more traction. That's what it appears to me. Like I said, this is just an example here. If we look at his YouTube channel, we can see that the video on why I was happy to leave Latin America was uploaded in 2021. And this video was uploaded in July 2021. So it's been 1.5 years old. In this video, he talks about why Latin America is not so exciting. He got bored of living in Latin America. It's more slow pace for all the different reasons that we know about. Recently, he also made some statements about Europe going down, highlighting things that are wrong in any given place. And that's perfectly fine. He can do that. However, if you say something like, and again, quote, I'm taking this from his website, quote, I'm done with living in Southeast Asia. I'm done with something means I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to go there again. That's what it means. However, it seems that he hasn't really kept his word. And I think people should hold him accountable for that.